Hi, my name is John Thompson.
I'm Elisa Thompson, and we thought we would reflect on Matthew chapter 7, the parable of the wise and foolish builders. And we wanted to do that one because that was one of the verses we had read it on our 10th anniversary when we renewed our vows.
So that 10th anniversary is a very small setting. We had the pastor, we had some close friends, and our 16-month-old son.
Who was very active
very
throughout
participant.
throughout the entire service.
And we thought it was important because 10 years at the time felt like a good long time of being married. Mm-hmm. And it was, and we've continued down that path, and we've talked about this foundation that the foundation of our marriage is based on God's love and listening and
trying to follow Jesus' teachings
Right.
and live as Christians in the world.
Right. I still remember from our first anniversary, we went to that that couples retreat, and it talked about that your perfect gift is your spouse. Mm-hmm. And I always remember that. Mm-hmm. That this is my perfect gift, and that's part of my foundation. Mm-hmm. So,
but then you went ahead and you read the whole chapter, so then it got more complicated.
Well, we were looking at just verses 25 through 27, but then I looked at the previous one, the verse, and it said, "Everyone who hears these words of mine and does them is like a wise man who built his house on the rock." So I went, wait a minute.
What words?
What are these wise words?
Say?
So, all of a sudden, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. So started at the beginning of the chapter, but these are all words that Jesus shared in different parables. And it kind of reminded me that if we're going to build that foundation, maybe you need to look at these, for me, specifications or metrics. Mm-hmm. So,
for instance, this chapter includes a parable about why do you judge your brother for the speck in his eye when you have a log in your own eye? So
I think of, going to Home Depot and getting that beam in your eye, and well, maybe if your foundation's based on, blaming someone else's speck, and it's really you have a beam in your own eye, maybe that's not a great foundation. Mm-hmm. And then we saw the one about...
I think that goes back, too, to living as Christians in the world.
Oh, definitely.
I mean,
definitely.
Just not judging others and trying to have sympathy and grace for where they might be coming from.
And then the next one was the ask, seek, and knock. Mm-hmm. And what really interested me about that was that you've got to reach out. It can't be passive. For you really to be there, you have to ask. You have to seek. You have to learn more. You can't just be based on, what you learned in Sunday school or things like that. But as we, grow older and have more experiences, what does it mean to you? And you have to knock. You have to reach out.
Right. You can't just stand passively and wait.
Right. And then we read the one about the narrow gate, and you had an interesting note.
Yeah, I found that one kind of scary because the gate is wide and the way is spacious that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter through it. And
so that's like the whole crowd. You see this whole crowd of people, and you think you're doing the right thing, and you start following them. And
right.
And then what was scary is not only is the correct gate, the narrow gate, but it says there will be few who find it. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of scary.
Even if you're looking, maybe you could
miss it. Maybe the crowd's going this way, it's this way, and you might not be able to find it. Mm-hmm. And I think, though, that goes back to not like you're in a lurch, but that God is going to be there to help you. Mm-hmm. And you can't do it on your own. Mm-hmm. And for some of us, me, I find it very hard to... I want to do everything on my own. I want to earn it. I want to, I don't want to be beholden to anyone. And I have to stop doing that. I continue to remind myself to stop doing that and rely on God because He's there.
Yep. So we have our 25th anniversary coming up in the not too far future.
Right.
Do you think we'll still use this verse, or do you think we'll use a whole chapter now?
Well, I like the verse, but you got to know what you're signing up for.
Kind of like marriage.
It's kind of like marriage. You say those words.
Did you read that contract?
Well, it's kind of interesting. When you talk about it, you read the words, but now maybe if you read the words again, you go, wow, yeah. How did I do on that?
They were not kidding about that better for worse thing.
That is true. That is true.
Well, we got some time to figure it out.
That is true.
What do you think? What does the scripture say to you? We will see you next week for more reflections.